Bob Iger at Disney said no. They did that. I bet that's exactly how the meeting went.
Oh, Luke.
Leia comes and...
a dummy.
Well, howdy, partner. Do you want to be a cowboy, little boy? Yes, I do.
You're gonna go live at cowboy camp now.
What's up, everyone, and welcome to Last Week in Star Wars. I'm Alex.
I'm Molly.
And we're going to go on a hunt for Ben Solo today. That's the big news, of course. Yeah, there's both of them. I've already done a video about this. We talked about it quite a bit over on our LEGO live stream this past week, but for the podcast, we figured this has to be the main topic of the week.
This was big news.
Adam Driver just kind of casually in an interview talked about how he would come back to Star Wars. He talked to Kathleen Kennedy about it a couple times. Even went so far as to develop an idea with Steven Soderbergh about Ben Solo that would have taken place after The Rise of Skywalker. And they got a treatment. They got a script together. They took it to Lucasfilm. Lucasfilm liked it. But then Alan Bergman and Bob Iger at Disney said no. They did that. I bet that's exactly how the meeting went.
No words were exchanged. They just thumbs down.
I mean, that's just kind of how it feels.
Yeah.
Like, it's a frustrating situation.
I've seen a lot of people say, I wish I just had never have known that this idea was out there and existed. And that's kind of how I feel. But at the same time, it is interesting to get some of these behind the scenes peeks at like what kind of things are being pitched.
Right.
And I think it was an important thing for the fans to know that Adam Driver was into this character. Mm-hmm. I feel like we all thought that when they were done with the sequel trilogy, Adam Driver didn't want to talk about it, didn't want anything else to do with Star Wars. And I don't really know why we thought that.
I think there was a little bit of projection that just he's obviously an incredibly talented actor. He's great in all three sequel movies. And I think he was just giving off Harrison Ford energy that...
He's a bit reserved.
Yeah.
Unless he's on SNL or something.
Yeah. Well, even then, the characters he plays are very funny, but still feel like this reserved intensity. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But I think that was just a lot of assumptions on fans' part. And yeah, to hear him say, no, I would love to come back. I told Kathleen Kennedy if it were a good story and a good director, he would come back in a heartbeat. And the fact that this was Steven Soderbergh, that's what upsets me more. I am not clamoring for a Ben Solo movie. I think that it would raise a whole lot of questions of okay, yeah, how is he alive? Also, Star Wars just keeps bringing characters back after they've been killed off. There's all of that, but he seemed so excited about the concept and the idea, and so did Steven Soderbergh, and so did Lucasfilm, that I'm it was probably worth exploring.
Yeah.
It probably would have been a satisfying answer instead of somehow Ben Solo returned.
Yeah, and that could have been fun to explore, why and how he could have come back. And like you said in your video, it could have something to do with the exchange of life energy between him and Rey and them being a dyad. It does seem like his story was wrapped up and he became one with the Force. He was good in the end, but I still think there is room to explore that character more. And I can't remember, were there talks about J.J. Abrams not knowing or not being sure whether or not he was going to keep Ben alive or not?
I'm not sure. I mean, that wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
I know that there were some leaks that came. I saw these after the movie came out, but at one point someone said Ben Solo gets tossed down into a pit, never to be seen again. That would have been how he died. And or no body, no death, but it would have been a strange way to end his story if he just were tossed down a pit and disappeared.
Yeah.
So at least having him come back, I think, was better. But yeah, that was one of my biggest issues with The Rise of Skywalker. I was just keep Ben alive. If you're going to redeem him, keep him alive. And then it just seemed so sudden. And I just remember being so disappointed as he fell back and faded away.
Yeah, because we want to see what that character arc looks like after the fact. You know, what does his atonement look like?
Yeah.
What is he doing to make up for all the terrible things that he's done? And that is getting kind of complicated storytelling wise. So I can see why Star Wars doesn't want to do that.
Yeah, I think that would have opened up like a whole other movie's worth of like, what do we do here if Ben Solo had come back to the light, stayed alive, and then like, yeah, how does everyone react when he shows up on Agent Gloss? Or like, you know, is he arrested? Is he exiled? What happens? But that would have been more interesting to me than another last minute redemption and then death.
Yeah.
He was still a young guy with a lot of life ahead of him, and I think it would have been interesting to see him help the galaxy heal, see him try to undo his wrongs. But yeah, I'm kind of getting off base of my original point that it's not so much about the idea. It's more just that you have like this solid creative team of Adam Driver and Steven Soderbergh and the writer who I can't remember his name, but he has some good credits. Bourne Ultimatum,
Yeah.
Contagion. You have like this solid pitch, and Disney's just like, no, because we don't get it. Or I think it's more likely that they're just reacting to, no, the internet's mad at the sequel trilogy, so we're just going to stay away from that. And in fact, we're not going to do anything for 7 years. And like, it just highlighted the frustrations around Star Wars and the films the past 7 years, because we've heard about these different like talented directors like Guillermo del Toro potentially having a movie, and it just no.
It's disappointing, and you know, it has been kind of crazy to see all the Reylos come out of the woodwork. You know, some of them not really active on social media much anymore, but now it's like everybody's kind of talking about it, and you see how the sequel trilogy affected so many fans. And then it just, it makes me mad that they didn't take more time to care more about like really figuring out how the story was going to go and then how to move on past those 3 movies.
Yeah. And that's just been an issue I've had since, I think, around The Rise of Skywalker, where I was like, okay, they really just didn't hit pause at all to think out the sequel trilogy. It was just, we're going to make a sequel trilogy. Here are the release dates. Go. Hire directors, hire writers. You'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Instead of, okay, this is important. And we just spent $4 billion. We want to make a return on our investment, but like, let's really make sure that we get this right and nail down some fan confidence.
My initial reaction to this news, you know, my curiosity was just really, really piqued. I was like, oh man, I really want to know what that story would have been and like what it would have looked like and who else was going to be in the film. I wouldn't mind if they made a movie like that. It's not on the top of my list of like, oh, now I want to see this movie. I still want to see the Rey movie. I still really, really hope that it's happening. And I think that is like more interesting to me right now because she was truly like the lead.
Yeah.
So I'm still more interested in that, but this really felt like a creative move for Lucasfilm and for Disney.
Yeah, I think it would have been really creative and trippy, and we'll talk about that later. We got some questions about this movie and what could have been, but yeah, I wonder how often this happens, that Lucasfilm gets like a really creative, unique pitch with like, here's the team, and Disney is just like reacting to something or doesn't understand it and turns it down. And it does make me think about Tony Gilroy talking about how hard Kathleen Kennedy and Lucasfilm went to bat for Andor, and that it's like, no, this is a very specific vision, and yeah, it's going to be expensive, but it's going to be really good.
Yeah.
And I think Andor really engaged a lot of fans, brought in new fans, brought back fans who were feeling Star Wars fatigue. I feel like Disney isn't allowing for creative vision to happen. They're just like, what's the most corporate, like what's the widest net we can cast to bring in the most cash? And that's all they care about.
Yeah. I think it probably happens a lot. I think Lucasfilm probably comes up with a ton of really fun and creative stories for Star Wars, and Disney probably says no to 80-90% of them. Or at least is like, well, yeah, but we can change this, and this. And then they, force it into this shape that it didn't necessarily need to be in.
Yeah, you never know. It's just like, this is one of those moments where it's always a struggle between the business side and the creative side. And I've been feeling it more and more as of late of just like, okay, this is a business decision, I think, Mandalorian and Grogu, where I think they were going to continue on and have a 4th season of this show. I still think it's telling that they were talking about, here's the future of movies in London, 1, 2, 3 movies. And then like 6 months later, they're like, actually, first, here comes the Mandalorian and Grogu. And we're like, well, hold on, didn't we just finish season 3 of this show? And I feel like that's Disney reacting to, oh, we really messed up and went hard at streaming, and now no more streaming. That streaming show that is one of our biggest hits and has a Grogu as this cultural sensation, put him on the big screen.
Yeah, make a movie.
Which I hope it's good. I hope it's fun. But I'm just saying it feels like corporate reaction to their own mistakes.
Yeah. Right now, the production company industry, I think they're just flailing. Like, they don't really know what to do because no one is making as much money as they used to be with the movie industry. I
mean, they just messed with movies the way that we're used to seeing them so much with streaming. And we are definitely guilty of saying, like, I kind of want to see that. It'll be on Disney Plus in a little bit. Yeah. It stopped us from
and
going to
whose
see...
fault that is?
Yeah.
Disney's.
It stopped us from going to see Marvel movies until they're on streaming. They've killed the DVD market, which was... I remember Matt Damon, I think, has talked about this on Hot Ones, about how much that affected smaller movies getting made.
Because that's where they made a lot of their money.
Yeah. It was like, okay, this is not maybe going to be a huge blockbuster, but it'll do well in DVDs. We'll make our money back then. And now, like, DVD sales aren't, or physical media isn't as big of a thing.
Mm-hmm. They're all in a landfill somewhere. They're in those bins at Walmart and then in a landfill.
I feel very rambly about all of this, but I'm just like, the whole movie industry is such a mess. And this news about the Ben Solo thing, even though it wasn't specifically about that project for me, I'm just like, you're telling me Steven Soderbergh wanted to do a Star Wars movie and was excited about the idea, and we'll never get to even imagine what that's like.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say never, but we'll talk about that later. With all this talk, I've expressed some frustration with live action Star Wars mostly, but I have been very happy with animated Star Wars. I feel like they have just been firing on all cylinders, probably because they have less corporate meddling. But Star Wars Visions Volume 3 is coming out on Wednesday, and we today, right before we started filming, got this fun little box. They sent along a couple pieces of like concept art. This is from the Duel Payback. It's the little Ewoks.
That is so cute.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see them in action.
I love these. And from what I'm seeing online, I think of the boxes that went out, people got different artwork. This one is from the one called The Bird of Paradise from Polygon Pictures. That's
the one that when you watch the trailer, it just looks so visually striking.
Yeah, I
really
remember
bright.
Seeing the images on the panel at Star Wars Celebration Japan, and this one like looked like it was like a watercolor painting. It was really pretty.
I'm just kind of noticing that this Ewok on the back of his happy coat, it looks like he's got a stylized version of the Sith or Imperial emblem on it.
Uh-oh.
Like, is this Ewok a bad guy?
Might be.
Uh-oh.
Oh, yeah. It looks like the Imperial cog. I like seeing the little notes that they have on here, too. And it says, like, could be cute if this ties like a bow tie, question mark?
Could be cute. I don't know. Could be cute if we had little Ewoks all over the place. Might be. This one, it's like all this bright paint looking kind of colors, but there's something dark forming. It looks like an astromech.
It does, yeah.
This is almost like a magic eye.
Yeah, at first I thought it was like Vader's mask, but it is more kind of shaped like maybe an R2 unit.
I think I can see the leg, but yeah, from far away I thought it was Vader's mask or something, but yeah, I'm pretty sure it's an astromech.
We also got this really neat little bamboo placemat that's got Star Wars Visions written on it.
And a little note that says, join us October 29th as Star Wars Visions Volume 3 premieres on Disney+, an anthology featuring 9 celebrated anime studios showcasing stories from a galaxy far, far away. May the Force be with you. And it's also written in Japanese, and this looks handwritten.
It does, yeah.
That's pretty cool.
That is neat. We also got a little Visions pen. This is cool. I really dig all the Visions stuff. And like as far as PR goes, getting little snapshots of like concept art is really neat.
Yeah. So thank you for the box, Lucasfilm. But moving on to our next segment, last week in canon, we got 2 new comic issues, Jedi Knights number 8 and Tales from the Nightlands. So let's run through those. You read them both, right?
I did.
Nice. Jedi Knights number 8. What did you think of that one?
I liked this one. I did see, before we start talking about the story, I saw a great post by Ahmed Best where he was in a comic book shop and he had this issue in like all of its variant covers. And I was just like,
oh, that's awesome.
Good for him.
Yeah. Yeah. This is the Keller and Beck issue. The series has been interesting. It's very much like an anthology where each issue follows a different Jedi or pair of Jedi. And there is an overarching plot, and sometimes I've been frustrated that they're not like dealing with stuff like Atha Prime or Qui-Gon's assassin as much, but this was a great standalone issue. I liked it a lot.
It was very unique because the entire issue is from the point of view of a child.
Like literal first person point of view.
Yeah. So I thought that was a really fun way to kind of like change it up.
So we follow this youngling, girl who's discovered to be Force sensitive, and 2 Jedi are taking her to the Jedi Order. And we get to really stop and kind of let it soak in with the girl. Her name is Suna, with her family that is like allowing her to make the decision and saying goodbye to her. What did you think of all that?
It was emotional.
Yeah.
I was kind of like, these parents seem super great. And, you know, we hear all the time about stories where the parents are either one is gone or both are gone and they were terrible or, you know, they weren't around. But these parents seemed like really sweet and supportive. And I was just kind of like, do I want her to go?
I know.
I was like, I don't know.
Well, I wanted to pause because I liked that little exploration into the girl's family life, and that I think sometimes people act like the Jedi kidnap children and drag them kicking and screaming from their families when that's not the case. And I think there's plenty to debate and talk about with that whole situation, but this was a good example of, supportive parents, a girl who needed some encouragement but knew what she wanted and went off. And then, those 2 Jedi get killed. They answered a distress call, and it's pirates setting a trap.
You mentioned that it kind of reminded you of The Acolyte, where like Mother Anastasia is nervous because she's like, you guys are children. You don't know what you want yet, you know, and like the Jedi, of course, seemed really new and different. And it is tough to say, like, how old is old enough to make their own decisions? To decide to go and do this, and how young is too young. I don't know. It's
like, you know, if you're a young kid and you're like, man, the life of a cowboy sure seems cool. And it's like,
and a cowboy
comes in and is like, well, howdy, partner. Do you want to be a cowboy, little boy? And yes, I do. Like, well, come on, let's go to Montana.
You're going to go live at cowboy camp now.
Right. Like every child wants to be a cowboy or an astronaut or a fireman or something. And then you grow up and you're like, actually, I want to do something else.
Yeah.
Your opinions shift. So I think there's plenty to debate about it. But I like that the show or the issue gave us a good example of this is a happy thing in this example.
Do we know when this takes place?
Shortly before the Phantom Menace. I think it's during Chancellor Valorum's term, probably his final term, but I don't think it's said it's in the year 33 BBY or anything like that.
But because like Keller and Beck was in it towards the very end, and he wasn't really in it that much. But I assume he'll be in the next issue also.
Probably not.
No?
I mean, these issues tell like one-off stories.
I could have sworn he was on another cover.
Well, he's going to be in that Jar Jar
Oh, that's
Keller
what I'm
and
thinking
Beck
about.
team up, which is written by Mark Guggenheim and Ahmed Best.
Gotcha.
But yeah, so the little girl is captured after the Jedi are killed, and then Keller and Beck comes and kicks the door in and saves her with some help from her. I thought it was cool that she uses the Force to get one of the lightsabers and helps fight back. And she's even like, I don't know how I did that. Like, she's just operating on pure instinct.
And she says Yoda was even surprised that she was able to do that.
And it's cool. Like, that's the Force, is that a lot of times it's just instinct and believing it can be done, seeing Kelleran do it, and she just imitates it. Mm-hmm. And she's like, that was crazy, but I did it.
Plus, I mean, when you're in fight or flight, there's a good chance that you have closer access to that kind of stuff.
Agreed. The other comic that came out was Tales from the Nightlands issue 2. So this is following up on that, like, Pennywise It style. There's this creature entity called the Nightlander that can come back every so many years. I forget what the number was.
30, but I think.
The time has come. The Nightmare Conjunction is back. And so the Nightlander is kind of controlling Daisha, who's the young Twilight girl from the first issue that met Anakin. And I liked that.
Yeah, I was not expecting any connecting bits. But when I saw her, she's all grown up, and I was like, wait. And I went back and looked at the other issue, and I was like, oh, that's her.
Yeah, I did the same thing.
But then I felt so bad because I was like, has she just been haunted by this entire time, her whole life?
I don't think so, but it did try to possess her, and Anakin stopped it. And then it's probably like something that as the Nightmare Conjunction gets closer, it starts to latch onto her. And it basically used her to lure Luke to it. And it wants to try to possess him. Mm-hmm. And then
Luke.
Leia comes and
a dummy.
Tries to help Luke. And it tries to possess Leia. And then Luke and Daisha have to, like, the way all three of them wound up working together was really neat.
Well, he goes because he has that vision or dream, and he thinks, he might find his father.
Yeah, it's shortly after the Empire Strikes Back, and he's not 100% sure Vader was telling the truth. And then he gets some sort of vision that it's like, no, your father is on this planet, which is, of course, a lie, but it gets him out there. But then I like that at the end, Daisha is able to say, well, I met your father, and I can tell you a story of what he was like as a heroic kid.
Yeah. I was just laughing to myself the whole time reading this because Luke is like, I had this crazy dream and now I gotta go and I'm not going to tell anybody where I'm going and I'm going to go right now. And Leia is like, come on, man.
She's like, I'm going to follow you.
I'm going to follow him because he's a dork and he's going to get himself in trouble.
And he did.
And he was like ready to lay down.
Yeah.
He was
about to give up.
And he was like, you know what? There's no hope for me anywhere else. So go ahead, Ghosty.
And then Leia's being like,
you idiot.
Yeah. Well, Leia being the symbol of hope in the rebellion, like inspiring hope in him again. I liked that. My biggest surprise was the artist. It was Vincenzo Riccardi, who is quickly becoming one of my favorite Star Wars comic artists.
Is this a different artist from the first one?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is his third issue, as far as I know, for Star Wars. One was in Dispatches from the Occlusion Zone. One was Echoes of Fear. But he just has that, like, I don't even know how to describe it. Like, paintbrush strokes, very vibrant. Like, I remember staring at one frame from Dispatches from the Occlusion Zone where I was just like, this is gorgeous.
Yeah.
And it's just so stylized, and I love the way his art looks.
It's very intricate.
Yeah.
And a lot of brush strokes. It looks like a lot of time and effort went into it. And I thought the same thing. I was like, the art in these are incredible. Like, I loved the first issue art too. So
yeah, I did as well. They're choosing very good artists, but yeah, Vincenzo, like in Echoes of Fear, he did the art for like a flashback. Someone was telling a story, and then his art was like the interpretation of that story. It just lends itself very well to these kind of like spooky, is this true, is it not?
Yeah, mystical,
ethereal,
kinda.
yeah. So I love his art. Bring him back. Keep using him. But moving on to our last segment, we're going to go back to talking about the hunt for Ben Solo. Cam and or Mappa both ask if we think there's a chance the Ben Solo movie will ever get made.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think in the iteration that it was pitched, it will happen. But that's not to say that some of the ideas won't get used.
Yeah. And who's to say none of this is already kind of like snuck its way into the Rey movie?
Right. I was going to bring that up.
Yeah. So, no, I don't think it's going to get its own film dedicated to this story of like finding Ben Solo or bringing him back. But yeah, like if not in another movie, books, comics, like we could explore this in multiple different ways.
It kind of makes me think of the Kira comics that happened. Is I wonder if there were, plans for a Kira movie, or we know there were going to be more Solo movies, that it was pitched as a trilogy and then it didn't do very well for a number of reasons. And Bob Iger was like, well, we're hitting pause on like any Star Wars thing that isn't a Skywalker saga style movie. Mm-hmm. And then that's why Guillermo del Toro's Jabba the Hutt, whatever that was going to be, that got shut down. James Mangold was talking about doing a Boba Fett movie, that got shut down. Like, again, just very reactionary. Yeah. But I wonder if elements of Kira's story got shifted into those comics where, like we said, I think there's a lot less corporate oversight and meddling on the publishing side. And we could get a book about that pitch. Or, like you said, it could be folded into what happens in the Rey movie. Mm-hmm.
Or, if they don't touch the story at all, there's plenty of fan fiction out there that have covered it extensively and might even be better than what they could do.
The thing that holds me back from saying that like Ben Solo will return is that he did show up as a Force ghost in one of the Lego specials.
Oh yeah.
But those have been like, they're not fully super canon. Vinay was also in one of those, and they have definitely changed his actual canon universe, what happens to him, because he was not a head in a jar with a droid body in that Lego thing.
That would have been cool, though. Yeah. I hope he shows up again in something new that Lego does as the new
little
version.
Head jar.
Yeah.
Head jar Vinay. Elo Asti asks how we think Ben Solo would have come back if the movie had been made, and also if The Hunt for Ben Solo would have been the real title. No to that. I don't think so.
I mean, who knows, but I doubt it. It kind of makes it sound like he was lost and they have to find him again, or...
It's giving The Search for Spock, where they're like, oh, we watched Spock die, and Rey's like, I watched him become one with the Force, but Spock's out there somewhere. And I mean, after The Wrath of Khan, I'm sure people were like, I can't believe they killed off Spock and he'll never be back. But like, oh, there's this weird roundabout way the Genesis Project like had him be reborn. And I don't know, that movie is not great, but like they figured it out.
And, with the world between worlds existing in Star Wars, I really feel like anything is possible.
Well, you said this on the Lego stream that, Ahsoka got knocked off a cliff and was drowning. And, she's also kind of in the world between worlds.
Or, did she fall through a portal? Was that all a dream? Like, did she actually drown? But she was fine.
Yeah.
And, they can work their way around anything.
I mean, I think it's clear... I would say that Ben Solo became one with the Force. That's definitely what it looked like. I think that's what they were intending. That doesn't mean that he couldn't be brought back, or maybe he just would have been like... I had this idea that Rey could be searching for him in the physical world, and maybe he is dead and in the netherworld, and it's more about not coming back to life. But maybe it's him learning to manifest as a Force ghost or something.
Yeah. I can't help but think, wouldn't this be an incredible opportunity for them to expand on this whole dyad thing that they decided to introduce in the last movie of this trilogy that could be something so special that something like this is possible.
Exactly. I mean, we keep bringing up, he put his life energy into Rey, his dyad.
Yeah.
We don't know all of the consequences of being a dyad, what that means. We saw some pretty crazy stuff of them passing, like teleporting items between each other.
Right.
So who knows what the dyad can do.
Maybe they invent something like the substance, but it's kind of like Rey can exist for a week and then Ben Solo can exist for the week, but
he comes crawling out of her back.
Never the two shall meet again.
Oh, that'd be tragic.
Yeah. If like the universe of Star Wars, if the Wills allowed him to return, the caveat might be that like he and Rey can't exist at the same time or something.
I mean, like there should be some consequences to death. Like that's
Sure.
Star Wars keeps bringing people back. Asajj Ventress was shot by a bunch of Force lightning. She's fine. She's got some minor scars.
She just needed a nap and some water.
Yeah, like I think that if Ben Solo were to come back, it should be difficult and there should be some consequence. But we learned something new about the Force in just about every single Star Wars movie, especially the Skywalker, or at least the Skywalker ones. So I'm sure there's more to learn. But I don't think it would have been titled The Hunt for Ben Solo. That to me is just a placeholder. This is what it's about. It's what we're calling it. So we're calling it something. But it's too similar to The Search for Spock for me.
Yeah. And I have to imagine they were thinking about that movie when they came up with this idea.
Yeah, probably. But that's it for last week in Star Wars. Next week, we'll be covering Dr. Aphra Chaos Agent and the next issue of Boba Fett, Black, White, and Red. Until then, please like this video, subscribe to the channel.
Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and Blue Sky.
And consider checking out our Patreon page. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.